Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're doing another reading of Bhagavatam Bites while we're here in the UK. Unfortunately, not outside, although it was semi-sunny, and we just had, and maybe still do, had 3 beautiful parrots outside our door in this cherry tree, and they're plucking the cherry blossoms off, and as they're doing it, these beautiful flowers are falling to the ground. So anyway, we're going to read from the Bhagavatam.
Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 29.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 29. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. A person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu in unalloyed devotional service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planets. Lord Shiva and other demigods attain these planets after the destruction of this material world. Purport. This verse gives an idea of the highest perfection of the evolutionary process. As described by the Vaishnava poet Jayadev Goswami, Pralaya Prayodi Jale Dritavan Asivedam. Let us begin tracing the evolutionary process from the point of devastation, Pralaya, when the whole universe is filled with water. At that time, there are many fishes and other aquatics, and from these aquatics evolve creepers, trees, etc. From these, insects and reptiles evolve, and from them birds, beasts, and then human beings, and finally civilized human beings. Now the civilized human being is at a junction where he can make further evolutionary progress in spiritual life. Here it is stated, Swadharma Nishtam, that when a living entity comes to a civilized form of life, there must be Swadharma, social divisions according to one's work and qualifications. This is indicated in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varyam Maya Shritam Guna Kama Vibhagasa. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the 4 divisions of human society were created by me. I think what stood out for me was giving this evolutionary line process when it comes to human beings, and then finally civilized human beings. It's true, actually, isn't it? Just because you're human don't mean you're civilized, unfortunately. And also what stood out was when you get to the civilized human platform, this is like a junction where you can basically, you have a choice. You can further progress and go up and evolve spiritually. It's interesting being here, and dealing with family members and that who are at a junction, you could say. And it's not easy unless you're really versed in the scriptures and even them, because material nature is so strong. Yes, material nature is very strong. So you really get stuck, attachments and relationships from family and friends. Isn't it? I don't know how many people can really truly say at this point, as it were, oh yeah, I'll go. Yeah, no worries, I'll go back.
Back to the spiritual world.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's interesting, this list of performing your swadharma or your occupational duty for 100 births. I mean, gosh, we can hardly do it for one birth, but to speak of who knows how many births we've been trying to do it for, or once we die, if we're gonna actually, of course, if you're practicing devotional service, Krishna explains that you pick this up, and of course we know karmically you pick up anywhere where you left off, but devotionally you kind of don't lose, so you continue to pick up. But ultimately the idea is we try to move to the spiritual world, out of the material world. So Prabhupada continues in the purport. In civilized human society, there must be the divisions of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and everyone must properly execute his occupational duty in accordance with his division. Here it is described, Swadharma Nishtaha, that it does not matter whether one is a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. If one sticks to his position and properly executes his particular duty, he is considered a civilized human being. Otherwise, he is no better than an animal. It is also mentioned herein that whoever executes his occupational duties, Swadharma, for 100 births, for instance, if a Brahmana continues to act as a Brahmana, becomes eligible for promotion to Brahmaloka, the planet where Lord Brahma lives. There is also a planet called Shivaloka, or Sadashivaloka, which is situated in a marginal position between the spiritual and material worlds. If after being situated in Brahmaloka one becomes more qualified, he is promoted to Sadashivaloka. Similarly, when one becomes even more qualified, he can attain the Vaikuntha Lokas. The Vaikuntha Lokas are targets for everyone, even the demigods, and they can be attained by a devotee who has no desire for material benefit. As indicated in Bhagavad Gita 8:16, one does not escape material miseries even if he is elevated to Brahmaloka. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino arjuna. Similarly, one is not very safe even if he is promoted to Shivaloka, because the planet of Shivaloka is marginal. However, if one attains Vaikuntha Loka, he attains the highest perfection of life, and at the end of the evolutionary process, Mamu Pechetu Kunteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. In other words, it is confirmed herein that a person in human society who has developed consciousness must take the Krishna consciousness in order to be promoted to Vaikuntha Loka or Krishna Loka immediately after leaving the body. Tyaktva deham punarjanmanaiti mameti so Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita 4:9. A devotee who is fully in Krishna consciousness, who is not attracted by other loka or planet, any other loka or planet, including Brahma Loka or Shiva Loka, is immediately transferred to Krishna Loka, Mam Eti. That is the highest perfection of life and the perfection of the evolutionary process. So it's interesting, reading this really reminds me of the book that we've started reading with a group called Bhagavatam Rita. In the first volume, I don't think it covers this, but the second and third volume, second volume especially, covers how Gopakumar travels to each higher level spiritually. And yeah, it explains exactly like this. So it's very, very interesting that this is brought up. Yeah, of course, from the verse seems to indicate that you become qualified not just to attain the planet of that person, that personality, Brahma or Shiva, but actually to become that person, because it says he becomes qualified to occupy the post of Brahma. And if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. Now that one doesn't say the post, and Lord Shiva is also a post. They're personalities, but they're posts as well. So different persons can, the Shiva post is only ever occupied by Sadashiv's expansion. So I guess to some extent they're still pose. But in the purports, Srila Prabhupada mentions that you can go to these planets. But nevertheless, the point being that we don't want to go to any of these planets, not for fun, not for a laugh, not for a holiday. Ultimately, we want to go back to the spiritual world and be done with all the marginal or material planets like that. So, yeah, anyway.
Text 30. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me and that I am dear to them. Thus no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am.
This is Lord Shiva speaking.
And also a reminder that this is Parikshit Maharaj little story that he's telling because his mum... Oh.
No, that's different.
That's in Bhagavatam. See? Confusion reigns. This is the Prachetas.
Yeah, this is the pastime of the Prachetas. Yeah.
This I shouldn't read too much. Pop. It is said, Vaishnava Nama Yata Shambhu. Lord Shiva is the best of all devotees. Therefore, all devotees of Lord Krishna are also devotees of Lord Shiva. In Vrindavan, there is Lord Shiva's temple called Gopishwar. The gopis used to worship not only Lord Shiva but Katyayani or Durga as well. But their aim was to attain the favour of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna does not disrespect Lord Shiva, but worships Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Consequently, whenever a devotee worships Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Shiva to achieve the favour of Krishna, and he does not request material profit. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 20, it is said that generally people worship demigods for some material profit. Kamastaste rita jnana prapadyamte anya devata. Driven by material lust, they worship demigods, but a devotee never does so, for he is never driven by material lust. That is the difference between a devotee's respect for Lord Shiva and an asura's respect for him. The asura worships Lord Shiva, takes some benediction from him, misuses the benediction, and ultimately is killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards him liberation. Interesting. Yeah, just pushing forward, or like just emphasizing the position of Lord Shiva as a devotee. And as I was saying in previous readings, like a couple of readings ago, it's interesting because that part of it isn't pushed so much or emphasized so much. Well, it wasn't for us, growing up as Hindus, not that Lord Shiva was quite feared, actually. It was like, don't mess with Lord Shiva, Make sure you do your fasting on his days and all that. But when you read Prabhupada's books, it really emphasizes his gentle nature and the fact that he's considered such an exalted Vaishnava, and that element. Although I think it was understood he was a devotee of Lord Ram. That's how we were brought up, and he was a devotee of Ram. It was actually pushed like that. But still, he was also a force to be reckoned with on himself. But yes, the way Prabhupada brings it out really gives respect to him and puts him on such a level of a Vaishnava,
Interesting. Yeah, I seem to remember that in Rameshwaram, that Lord Ram worshipped Lord Shiva. I didn't understand that he was a devotee of Ram exactly, but anyway. But also, reading this, it really reminds me how even within ISKCON we often more or less kind of deride Lord Shiva,
Yeah.
and we don't worship him in the proper way. And I know this. What's the Prabhupada disciple who?
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, one Prabhupada disciple was really on a
Ramnath Sukha.
Oh yeah, Ramanath Sukha.
Yes.
He was really pushing how no, we should actually worship Lord Shiva, not like that we become obsessed with worshiping Lord Shiva, but he should be shown the respect that he deserves. And here you see Krishna, Prabhupada says it just so clearly. A devotee of Lord Krishna does not disrespect Lord Shiva, but worships Lord Shiva as the most exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. Consequently, whenever a devotee worships Lord Shiva, he prays to Lord Shiva to achieve the favor of Krishna and does not request material profit. So it's very clear. Prabhupada makes it very clear. Continuing, next paragraph to complete this purport. Because Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he loves all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva told the Prachetas that because they were devotees of the Lord, he loved them very much. Lord Shiva was not kind and merciful only to the Prachetas. Anyone who is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very dear to Lord Shiva. Not only are the devotees dear to Lord Shiva, but he respects them as much as he respects the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, devotees of the Supreme Lord also worship Lord Shiva as the most dear devotee of Lord Krishna. They do not worship him as a separate personality of Godhead. It is stated in the list of Nam-aparads that it is an offense It is an offense to think that the chanting of the name of Hari and the chanting of the name of Hara or Shiva are the same. The devotees must always know that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that Lord Shiva is his devotee. A devotee should be offered respect on the level of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes even more respect. Indeed, Lord Ram, the Personality of Godhead himself, sometimes worshipped Lord Shiva. There you go. If a devotee is worshipped by the Lord, why should a devotee not be worshipped by other devotees on the same level with the Lord? This is the conclusion from this verse. It appears that Lord Shiva blesses the Asuras simply for the sake of formality. Actually, he loves one who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's very, very powerful verse in support of, this principle of why we should really offer homage and respects to Lord Shiva. And how much, it said again and again and again that Lord Shiva loves the devotees of Lord Krishna. Lord Shiva loves the devotees of Lord Krishna. So very powerful, very potent, very nice.
Nice.
Okay, so thank you all very much for tuning in. Lord Shiva ki jai. Hari Hari.